CAT, that's the Confederation of Africa Tennis, forthcoming AGM here in Nairobi, and also she'll be vying for a post in that particular election. I'll be telling you which particular role and what are her ambitions, as well as plans for the future, and also talk about the development of the sport in this particular game. Don't stay tuned on KBC Channel 1. Yes, and let's now link up with Wanjiro Mbogwa Karani. Yes, Wanjiro Mbogwa, thank you so much for joining us. And it is a lovely morning. Tell us how they say that tennis is one of the sports that the gaining popularity in the country, but also a number of people are behind in pushing that for the sport to be where they are. And we can ably say that in the last 5 years or 6 years, really, the sport has been a leading one. That's in terms of performance with Angelo Kutoi, the Wimbledon junior doubles champion, being the leading light for the game. But thank you so much, and karibu. Let's begin with the forthcoming CAT AGM, which will be in Nairobi on 27th of this month. How important is this AGM being held in Nairobi, Kenya?
Thank you, Bernard. How are you doing? I hope you're well. And yes, so Tennis Kenya will be hosting the Confederation of African Tennis annual general meeting. This is the Confederation of African Tennis is a group which has 54 countries from all over Africa that are its members. And for this particular meeting, we're talking about hosting the presidents and the secretary generals as they come for their annual meeting. So for Tennis Kenya, it's extremely important to have hosted this event. Number one, it is a milestone AGM because this is the 50th Golden Jubilee for Confederation of African Tennis. So that's extremely important on its own. But also as Kenya, we want to show what our capacity is. We want the world to know that we're capable of doing these things. We have been seeing a lot of conferences held in different areas, you know, in the tourism industry, in trade and all that. But now we are saying even sports, we can do it. So Tennis Kenya bid for this event and we won the bid and we're very excited. We shall be hosting them this coming week.
You're vying for a position, that's the vice presidency role for the Eastern Africa region. Why did you decide to go for the post?
Well, I have, as everyone knows, I'm extremely passionate about my sport. I love tennis very much. I played it as a young girl and have come consistently through the ranks. From a player, then I trained to be a coach. After a coach, I realized I was actually really good at administration. I volunteered at the tennis office, and then I became a member of the federation, and then eventually I was elected as Secretary General of Tennis Kenya. So with that position, I've had the opportunity to interact a lot with the Confederation of African Tennis and the International Tennis Federation, and I realized there were some gaps. And one of them was communication, just in being able to get countries to align to whatever the policies are of CAT. And I know I'm really good at it. So I said, I can do this job. And so I started doing it. Even before I put myself forward, I've been doing the work of mobilizing this region, the Zone 4 region. So from so for me, it was so when the opportunity arose for me to put my name forward, I knew I can do it. So here I am as a candidate. I have one other contender from Comoros, and yes, that's the situation. On Friday morning, we shall know.
And what maybe you can talk about the plans that you have when you get into the position, when you win that particular role, and also you can talk about some of the projects that you could continue done by your predecessor? What are some of the new things maybe that you're planning to come in with, and what are some of the projects begun by your predecessor that you're likely to continue?
Yes, so what's exciting for me is that as each particular country, we have 12 countries in this zone, and each of them is usually very good at one particular thing. So you'll find Burundi are very good on-court presence. You'll find Kenya has extremely good coaches. You'll find Uganda is very good in getting sponsors. So when you put all the 12 countries together and their strength, then you realize that we can be so much more, and we can actually assist each other to be able to get players that, you know, can participate and excel on the world stage. So my first thing is just to be able to bring everybody together, to have a meeting every quarter, just as a beginning, which is something that has not been happening. I'm also looking at us doing projects as a zone. So by this, I mean like we could have training camps, or we could have tournaments that are specifically for East Africans, where we can then invite each other, give each other accommodation, and be able to give our players those opportunities to get the ranking points. Mm-hmm. The other thing I would say would be to train our coaches and our officials again together, because when you find Kenya maybe have 4, Burundi has 1, you know, Somalia has 2. So, but when we come, all of us, then we can be able to say, to ITF, we have a group of 30 people. Please send us a facilitator to come and train our coaches and our officials. Mm-hmm. When it comes to tennis, one of the biggest things that we do is to have professional events. And professional events are very expensive to run. So with my coming on board, my idea is to be able to have each country to hold 1 or 2 of those events, because each country can hold at least 1. But when you're told to hold 3, it becomes extremely expensive. So when we come together as a zone, we can be able to hold all men's professional events, W25, the juniors at the top level. We should be able to come together and do this. So that is my dream. My rallying call is Ubuntu, which just means bringing us all together for the good of our zone.
Yes, and that's Wanjiru Mbogwa Karani, who is vying for the vice president's role. We take a break, but we're back with Wanjiru Mbogwa Karani. She's talking about her ambitions are going for the vice president's role in the Eastern Africa region at the forthcoming CAT, that's the Confederation of Africa Tennis, at the AGM happening in Nairobi on 27th of this month. Stay tuned on Sports Check. Yes, and welcome back. And just before we went for the break, we were speaking with the Secretary General of the Kenya Lawn Tennis Association, that's Wanjiru Mbogwa Karani, on the forthcoming Confederation of Africa Tennis AGM, as well as her ambitions. She is vying for the vice presidency of the Eastern Zone. That's one of the zones in the Confederation of the continental body that administers tennis. But we also talk about how relevant, how important it will be for her to win this particular seat. So Wanjiru, how important will it be for you to get this particular role back, to retain it in the country? Of course, we know that your predecessor is also a Kenyan, but how about if you retain it? How important will it be for Kenya?
I think it's very important that sports leaders in Kenya are able to hold positions and be able to sit at the decision-making tables in confederations and in the international bodies. So I think it's extremely important. Also, for me as a woman, if I do make it, I will be the first woman to hold this position. And I think for Kenya, that's also a big thing. It shows our capacity again in being, and our diversity and inclusion. And I think it's extremely important, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And also, we looking at the region, Wanjiru, we have had in the last 7 or so years of East Africa players going up to being ranked among the 150, globally. We're talking about the former Kenya Open winner, the Ugandan Duncan Mugabe, as well as Sada Nahimana and Kenya's Angela Okutoi. What does this spell? What does this say of the growth of the game in the region?
So for sure, the game has been growing in the region. And for us, the fact that East Africa is able to produce such players, especially notably Sada Nahimana from Burundi and Angela Okutoi from Kenya, is a testament to the talent that comes from East Africa. So for us, it means that we have so many more Angela, so many more Sadas that we can bring up. All it takes is us coming together. If you look at Sada and Angela, the reason why they were able to get to reach their potential, or almost reach their potential, is because we worked as a zone. We held the ITF East Africa Center, which was initially held in Burundi and then in Kenya. And at these zones, what we do is we get players from each country, the top players, and they stay in a home situation where they play tennis every day. So you can see what collaboration this would mean. Unfortunately, that project was pulled out, so we are not able to make use of it anymore. And it was an ITF project, but that does not mean that we as East Africa cannot do the same on our own. And that is what I am here for, to make sure that we are able to continue even without the ITF support that we were receiving before.
Mm-hmm. So how is the region planning to continue with the program, the ITF Center in the region? How is the region going to carry on with the program, or it's seeking partnerships from elsewhere?
So we are certainly going to be seeking partnerships with other stakeholders. But the whole point of this is that everybody comes together in one venue. So to start off with, my idea is that we are going to have training camps every holiday, which incorporates all the top players in the region. So you come, you spend the month in whichever country will be hosting, play with the other top players, and then you can go back. That is until we are able now to build a center where everybody can then come and stay. It, of course, takes a lot of resources to be able to do something like this. That's why I decided that it's important for us to, instead of not doing anything like we're currently doing, that we can start by taking the low-hanging fruits and start doing something on our own.
Mm-hmm. And of course, Angela, I remember seeing you at the Wimbledon, very, very elated with Angela's win in the doubles junior championship. But how crucial, how important was this moment for the sport in the country?
Oh my goodness, you have no idea. It really brought tennis to people's forefront, Tennis has always been a quiet game played behind the scenes. And that's why most people had no clue that Angela existed until now, when she was really at the top of the world. But Angela has been there for the last 10 years. So this win, what it brought tennis to the forefront. Now everybody knows there's tennis, everybody knows there's an Angela Okutoi. We have a star that people talk about, that people can look up to. So that win was a major win. I remember we were there every time she won a match. We were taken and, by world media and taken to all these interview rooms and giving interviews. And so it was not just about Kenya. It was not just about Africa. It was about the whole world. Just knowing that there is Kenya and Kenya has tennis and that we are at the top of the world.
And you talk about her being around for quite some time before reaching, well, I'd say that she did reach the apogee of her game. But, she had won the Kenya Open at 18. These are some of the remarkable steps that she had undertaken or gone through before the whole world seeing her at the Wimbledon.
Yes, that is correct. She was actually Kenya Open champion at 14. She was the Africa Junior champion at 14. She won the Africa Junior Championship 18 and under at 16. So yes, her achievements she certainly had a whole string of achievements getting there. And I must say, all kudos to her because she has worked hard. Since she was 12, she has consistently worked hard. And she's still working hard. I don't know whether you saw yesterday, she was, they just narrowly lost in the doubles in a tournament in the US. And that was very exciting because that's also a professional tournament that she was playing.
Yes, indeed. And maybe, the coming onto the scene of Angela means that there was a lot of hard work being done by, the stakeholders of the game, and that includes the KLTA. But of course, recently KLTA has been sharing good news. I remember, must have been 2 years ago when they did launch the groundbreaking ceremony for the construction of tennis courts at Kasarani. How is that project and how far is it?
Yes, so just to answer the first one, I always say we are a small federation, always doing big things, always punching above our weight, and so far so good. The project that is Kasarani is one of those projects where it's a big one that we are trying to punch way above our weight. But so the background of it is we have been given land by the government at Kasarani to build our national tennis center. We are very excited about this. It has taken many years because the groundbreaking was about 4 years ago. And we are still yet to build. The bureaucracy has taken quite a bit of time. Last year, we were finally able to get a go-ahead from Sports Kenya to start building. So now we are at the paperwork stage where we are looking at getting permits and getting all the necessary paperwork from Sports Kenya to be able to get the permits that will allow us to start building. So that's where we are at.
How is the slow process? How is the unavailability of public courts a hindrance to the growth of the sport in terms of how the federation the association would have wanted it to be?
Of course, it's always great when you have your own home because then you're in control. People can walk in at any time and play. People would be able to book courts. Coaches would have a place to be able to train their players. Any player of any kind would be able to just walk into our national center and play. But what happens with the current situation is that we are playing in clubs. And of course, clubs are owned by members. And therefore, all members' interests must come first. We know this and we have understood this. So we found a way to work together so that we can use Nairobi club courts. They've been very gracious. But still, by about 3 p.m., the members come to play and we have to vacate the courts. That's why for us, it's extremely important that they are public courts which anybody can walk in and play.
Yes, and of course, Wanjiru as a former player, and now and a trained coach, and now an administrator, how are you going to combine all these qualities and to be able to help you serve if you get that particular role? How are you going to depend on these previous roles as a player, as well as a coach, and now as an administrator? How are these so crucial to you as you seek the vice presidency?
I must say I have been extremely blessed to be able to have held all these roles. As you say, I've been a player at the top level, so I get to understand what the players are feeling. I know what the players need. On the coaches' end, I understand what it takes to bring up players. I know the sacrifice that coaches have to make for their players to get to be so good. So in every angle, I have been a JTI coordinator, which means I have done grassroots tennis. By the way, we have like almost 30 schools playing tennis in Nairobi, another 5 in Mombasa, and 7 in Kisumu. So we are trying to grow the game through the schools. So I have done that project. That was my first job. So I really understand the game from the grassroots all the way to the top, where I was able to be with Angie at a Grand Slam and, manage her every move at the Grand Slam. It's completely different. I had no idea. I didn't know what it takes, but now I can confidently say I know from grassroots to development to high performance. I have a good idea because I have experienced it in any and all of the roles that I've played. So I think it's extremely, I'm extremely blessed. And this will be a great support for me, knowing I can draw back on my experiences as
indeed.
I take up this position. Yeah.
Yes, indeed. And you did oversee Angelo Kutoi's journey to the top. What still gives you hunger to achieve more?
I don't know. I think I have passion for sports. I absolutely love sports, and more so tennis. My father introduced me to this game when I was like 10. And since then, it has always been in and around me. So that passion drives me, giving opportunities to players. When I look at a player and I'm like, this player can be good, what can we do about it? This coach is, has what it takes to be a great coach. What can we do? So I feel like, that passion drives me to do the right things by players, by coaches, by officials, and just by putting their interests first, I have found we move much faster and move further than if it was all about a board and leadership and all that.
Yes, indeed. And we wish you all the best. And maybe, I know we also hold another role, that's at the National Olympic Committee, and of course the forthcoming Olympic Games in 2024. You have a role. Maybe if you don't mind, you could comment about the Team Kenya and how is the process so far for the qualification.
So Team Kenya, yes, it's been an amazing opportunity also. And in this case, because I have gotten to interact with different federations, with different athletes, all their needs are so different, all the sports are so different. So me just learning all that has been a great experience. In terms of Paris, we are well on our way to some great qualifying. We have about 40 athletes who have attained qualifying times. We have, of course, the rugby team who are very excited to have had them qualify on the first try. We have volleyball who are well on their way to finalizing their qualification. We have also people like fencing and all the rest. Hockey is currently in South Africa. And so we have quite a number of qualifiers between now and March. And that's where our concentration has been. So as the technical part is ongoing, my job is to make sure that all operations are now set. So in terms of accreditation, in terms of how will we get our visas, in terms of where will people stay, how long will they stay, where will they do their training. So that is what I've been working on this last couple of months.
Mm-hmm. And how did the shifting of the dates for what was supposed to act as a major qualifier for most of the African athletes, that's the All Africa Games, the shifting of the dates to next year. How did this influence the change of qualification for Kenyan athletes, for Kenyan sportsmen who are seeking qualification to Paris 2024?
Mostly it was an unfortunate move in terms of, I wish we would have held it this year. It would have cleared the air and allowed people to start training for Paris 2024. Some federations have managed to quickly reorganize themselves, some international federations, that is. So you'll find like hockey was meant to qualify at African Games. But when they realized that African Games will be held too late, they decided to have their own qualifying event, which is what is happening in South Africa. So because the more you can now concentrate on preparations and getting ready for the games. There are many others who will have to wait until African Games. It's also a clash with the college season, so we may not see as many athletes who are in U.S. colleges coming to compete. But we do hope that we have already started requesting permission from college coaches and what have you to be able to allow them to come for African Games. So looking on the bright side always, it has also given them enough time to start to practice to be able to go for African Games. So maybe we can get some great results and some other federations qualifying at African Games.
Okay, great. And maybe, Wanjiru, you can just comment about the introduction or the recent announcement by the IOC on accepting a number of sports that are also played here, but that will be after 2024, that's in 2028. Some of the emerging sports that are being introduced in the country and are being played locally, that's lacrosse, of course cricket has been here, and also the flag football. What do you make about the announcement that they are now Olympic sports?
I mean, it's fantastic. It's fantastic that we get more sports to be able to qualify. And for us, the fact that we are already playing them means we are in the game. We are certainly looking to be able to qualify those sports in 2028. And we know the work starts now. We know what it takes for a team to qualify, and all resources, all energy, any assistance that can be given will be given to ensure that by 2027, when the qualifying will start, that the people, the federations are ready for it. I think we have a really good chance of increasing our team in 2028 through these new sports.
Yes, indeed. Thank you so much, Wanjiru Mbogwa Karani, for joining us on Sports Check. And we wish you all the best in your forthcoming ambitions. And you'll be vying for the vice presidency at the forthcoming Confederation of Africa Tennis AGM, which will be happening here in Nairobi on the 27th of this month. All the best, Wanjiru, and thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Asante sana.
Yes, and that's been Wanjiru Mbogwa Karani. Also played a proper tennis administrator, as well as she did play in her times and went up the rankings, picked up a coaching, and now an administrator. She is the Secretary General for the Kenya Lawn Tennis Association. She'll be vying for the vice presidency in the forthcoming CAT to be for the region. And that's